Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, all the things. That's how we get the word out. I'm excited for our guest today. She's all the way over in the UK. Katherine Mora is a computer engineer, has been for 16 years, started her own company just last year in 2022, which is pretty exciting. And her reason for doing that is she wanted to, use tech for good, start to empower people, especially more women, to get into the, tech IT industry, protect our planet. She's in the UK, she's in Costa Rica, and really excited to have her. She's one of the sweetest people I know. So welcome to the show, girl.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's dig into, we talked a little bit about, so 16 years ago, what got you into tech? Let's start there.
Well, it was very interesting because since I was a little girl, I wanted to travel the world, speak another language, and meet people. And there were a few careers that I was exploring. But in the end, I think I was a bit of visionary. Like 16, 20 years ago, I wanted to work from the beach. Obviously, Costa Rica has a lot of coastal side. And I thought with computers, then I could do that. So I started my career. It was a bit interesting at the beginning because it wasn't common for many women to go to an engineering career. But luckily, I was empowered by my parents, and I didn't think that it was a bad thing or I couldn't do it. And yeah, I started the career. My first day was a bit of a shock because I was like, it was a room full of guys and only like two, three ladies. And then slowly throughout the career, ladies starting to step away from the career or just go to other courses. But yeah, it was a lot of fun and it was really hard. But I think in summary, in university, they taught me how to learn on my own. I think that was the best lesson and what I have been using throughout my career.
Awesome. So you said you always wanted to, travel and help people and all that stuff. Where do you think that came from? I mean, obviously from childhood, you said your parents were very supportive. Um, Give me some examples of your childhood.
Um, well, luckily, I was born in a bit of a rural area, so I was surrounded by nature, and all my family, like my aunts, they lived really close by. So there was like a really nice community, and always my parents and my aunts and everybody they were helping each other. Um, but I saw that from my parents, like always my mom and my dad, they will go and find a way to help people. At the beginning, they didn't have much, and they slowly were building their businesses. They are both entrepreneurs, and it was also really inspiring to see them how they grew. And from when they had little, when they had more, they were always finding ways to help others, either with a word, either with some money, either with like anything. So for me, it became natural that it was sort of the norm, and it has been like that since.
That makes total sense. So you started in Costa Rica and then you got into tech. And then when did you transition into the UK?
So I first started traveling to the US a lot. So, I started working for a company that had offices in multiple countries, including the US, Czech Republic, in the UK. So a lot of my dream, I think, at the beginning of traveling was mainly the US because most of the influence that we get in Latin America probably is going to the US, and going to Europe. It's more like going backpacking for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
But I travel a lot to the US, and I really liked it. And I always wanted to go and live abroad. And I thought I was going to go and maybe work in there for a while. But there was this project that I was working on for a company here in the UK, and I was working remotely. And one day, and I always kept asking my boss, like, if there was an opportunity to go. And one day he asked me, and I think he was joking. But after that, I kept pushing and pushing. And then so he had to ask the boss of the company. And since I was working for this company here in the UK, so it was sort of like a perfect excuse to go. And so I came to the UK for 3 months to try. So I could try because it was my first time in Europe. And also for, even though I've been working in the company for over 10 years or like over 7 years. It was a different office, right? And different people. So I
Mhm.
came here for 3 months. It went well. So I went back, did all the paperwork for my visa, and have been here for 7 years already. Yeah.
Wow. So you went to UK and you didn't know anybody. Really, I guess. I mean, your bosses and stuff, but you didn't have any family or anything like that. How was that? Like, what got you through, were there nights that you're like, man, I don't know if this is the right decision? Um, and if there were, how did you get through that?
Well, luckily, there was another friend from Costa Rica that we went to university together. He was already here in the UK. So he was, I've known him since 2004. So that was really, really good because he gave me a lot of advice. But also, people here were super nice. So one of the ladies that was in charge of the office, she even uh, went with me to see flats. They call here flats instead of apartments. So to see the flats and explore and show me around. So it was really nice. And I was just so excited to be here that um, it was a bit hard at the beginning, but mainly because of learning the laws or how things work, right? Like I had to go and look for an apartment and I needed to understand how those things work or like it's a bit different to Costa Rica. And but the main challenge for me was the language because I used to write a lot in English and had meetings in English, but it was technical things. And when I moved to the UK, I had to do more conversations, but also they have a different accent. So at the beginning, I thought they were going to send me back because I wasn't understanding things. And I thought it was the words, but it was just the accent. So slowly I was just getting used to it and obviously learning different words because they have different words than in the US. So it's been I think that was the main challenge. And it was for like a couple of years, just speaking more fluently.
And whenever you moved, like, how did your parents think about you moving to the UK from Costa Rica?
Well, my parents were obviously a little bit sad because I was going to be away,
Mhm.
but they knew it has been my dream. My mom, she once she started her business, she's also started traveling a lot. So I think I know that in the end they were very happy. They miss me. But I was going to Costa Rica quite often, like twice per year. So it wasn't such a shock. Um, but I had an aunt that told me that I was being very silly because of leaving, but it was her way of saying sort of like, I love you, don't go.
So how did you read that into that? Because for a lot of people, when people that are close to them, kind of suggest maybe they don't do things that are out of the norm. Like you took what she said totally different than what she said. Um, where did that
Yeah.
come from? And how did you deal with people that maybe said you shouldn't do it? Or even getting into tech, I'm sure you had people that said girls don't do that or whatever. How did you deal with some of that?
I think the excitement was bigger, luckily, than the fear. So I was obviously very scared because I thought of all the things that can go wrong,
Mhm.
especially when your family is away, right? Like if something goes wrong and I'm away for on a flight that is 10 or like if I have to delay over 10, 14 hours. So then that's scary. But I think my parents were very supportive. And even though obviously they were going to miss me, they never put that fear on me. And that for me was what mattered. And then I think I've learned to not let people reflect their fears on me
Explain
because
more.
yeah, so sometimes and it can come out of love or it can come out of jealousy or whichever feeling it comes. But some people may reflect their current circumstances to you. So for me, I was just that's what I wanted throughout my life. I wanted to travel, and I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be challenging, but I don't know. Deep inside, I know it was something that I had to do, and it was an opportunity, like once in a lifetime opportunity that if I didn't take it, I was going to regret it. So I think um, maybe coming from my background of engineering, and when I told you at the beginning that they taught me how to learn on my own. So I think that was. one of the big lessons that even when I didn't feel that I was ready, even when many times I was feeling scared, I would go and try. And I knew that after that, even though I was feeling scared before, and regardless of what happened, I end up feeling good because I tried and in my mind changed and expanded to this new perspective that I didn't have before.
That's awesome. And I know obviously we met in Arte, so you're into personal development. When did you start down that journey?
Um, well, I think I've always wanted to. If you ask my friends, I'm always learning something new,
Okay.
taking a course, and at a point, I was just looking for like those little quotes that like the motivational quotes, but at a point it wasn't enough. And I started listening to Andy's podcast, and what he said started resonating with me because I wanted the real and the raw uh, message. And that's what he was delivering,
Mhm.
and that's how I found this community Adite. And from there, I found that again, you are what you are surrounded with.
Mhm.
And if I'm surrounded with people that are very scared of trying new things, even though I'm very driven, I will I will hold myself back. So I was trying to get around people that had a positive message, and sometimes that positive message wasn't easy, right? Because sometimes it's just go ahead, try it. You're going to fail many times. But I think that's what keeps me going, especially for example during hard times like COVID, where I was away from my family, where everybody was scared about everything, with reason, right? But uh, yeah, I started this because I just needed to feed my brain and my mind with be very purposeful. And even with the music that I listen to, I'm very careful to the music that I listen to. I'm very careful with the people that I'm surrounded with. It's not that I won't be with somebody that doesn't want to grow, but obviously, in a way, you need to check for how long you stay with these people, for a bit, and and in a way they will help. They will learn from you. You will learn from them. But yeah.
That's really good. So your associations are really important. How did you separate yourself from associations that maybe you were finding were mm, not helping you grow?
Yeah, that was it is still very hard, especially with people that are very close.
Hmm.
So I had a friend that once told me I changed a lot, and when she told me that, I was super happy because I'm like, that's good, right? Like I'm growing. But obviously, she didn't say it in that
In a
way.
good way.
Uh, and 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 I always, when people tell me something, I don't immediately take it in a bad way. So I look and see, is obviously if they didn't say in a nice way, I may not like it, but um I look inside and think, is it good, or is it something that I need to change? Uh am I blinded by something? But something that has helped me is so my husband, I met my husband here in the UK, and he's from South Africa, and he's very direct. And at the beginning, I heard him, especially during the time where we had to work remotely. We were in the same room, and I heard him talking, and I was like, "Oh, why are you saying those things?" And he's like, "No, that's not rude." And I started paying attention, but with the way that I was raised, and especially in Latin America, sometimes you just have to stay quiet, and if you, especially if it comes from your parents or a figure of authority. And then
Mm.
slowly I started noticing that it wasn't healthy for me to be around people, especially even if it was friends or family. And so I needed to separate a little bit. So it doesn't mean that I don't speak to them or have a relationship with them, but I was dealing with my own things, and many times it was really hard. And another lesson that I have learned is that you need to be, I like helping people, but you need to help people that are willing to be helped. Because, and maybe it's not because they don't want to, but sometimes it's because they're not at that point in their lives. I've had many times when people have told me things, and it was one specific person that told me one thing in a specific way that made it click. So maybe I'm not the person that they need to hear. Maybe they need somebody else, and I'm there to help whenever they need to. But I think the lesson was that I was draining my battery because I was trying to make those relationships work.
That's really good. So when you separated for some of the people and they're like, you've changed and stuff, did you get a lot of people? Because I know a lot of like, I get a lot of people saying that, well, I don't want to like separate, all that stuff. How did you deal with some of that, personally that could help other people?
Um, I don't know.
You just
Uh,
separated.
no, well, I slowly started keeping distance uh, with them, and some people will understand. And I think something that I've learned is that there are seasons in your life, and not everybody is going to be there in all the seasons. Or you have friends that you haven't, I don't know, like you have friends from a child, from when you were in school. I have some friends from high school that we don't speak that often, but whenever I see them, it's like we have never stopped talking. So um I think it's just remembering that there are just seasons in their lives, and even if they say those things to you, like you change in a bad way, and you haven't, then obviously I'll try to see how I can, if there's something on my end that I can do to fix it. Like maybe it's a way for them to say, I miss you, I need some attention, or maybe it is just because it makes them uncomfortable that you're moving on, and they are not, or maybe you're far away. So I don't know how to
I love that.
answer
So
that.
reframing so what people say, you do a lot of this, but you're reframing what they're saying to you, to make it
Mhm,
positive, I guess you could say, instead of taking it
mhm.
negative, which is really cool for anyone listening. You can reframe what you hear into different things. So it's not really the circumstances that happen or the words that are said, it's how we frame them that a lot of times determine how we feel or how we move forward. So that's really powerful. Really cool. And now where's your vision now? Tell us where you're going with your company and what your vision is.
Um, the vision is to grow, and well, I want to be like Sarah Blakely. I want to be a billionaire. So I'm speaking it into
I want
existence.
to be a billionaire. Yeah. Awesome. And why do you want to be a
And
billionaire? Like, tell us, what does that mean to you?
yes, so obviously money is not the main driver,
Mhm.
but money is important. And with money, you get some freedom to and less worries in certain ways. So basically, I want to grow my company in a way where I can start hiring more people, giving people opportunity. I get very frustrated when I see super intelligent, driven, and capable people in jobs where they are like zombies. And for example, I have a friend that he's one of the smartest people I know, and he's in this job and he's just miserable, and
Mm.
they're not taking using his abilities like the way they could. And I'm like, oh, like I just need to grow a little bit more so I can afford him and I can hire him. And then I know this person will be a really good hard work person, and will create a good impact. So how can I get all these smart people that want to make a difference in the world in a place where they can get the opportunity to grow, they can get the opportunity to do something better for the world while they can have good salaries. So um, well, that's one of the main drivers, and also how can impact people in the community in my country, so Costa Rica, and people all over the world. So I'm part of different organizations like Quantum Leap, for example, where we're trying to make a difference on how we think and consume things, right? Like being coming from Costa Rica, nature is a huge part of my life. I I was born swimming in rivers and climbing trees, so I want nature to be there for many years. So uh, yeah, my goal is to grow in a way that I can support different initiatives, empower more women, empower people in general, but especially women, and putting myself out there. Like today with the podcast, I've been doing more speaking engagements. I realized that when I was growing up and when I was developing throughout my career, there were not many women. And for many years, I hid in a way because I didn't want to be cataloged as the nerdy, geeky person, as many people catalog the techie people. And I just showed my sporty side. Um, but I realized that I also need to show that techie side then and share my knowledge because um, one of my other goals, I have so many goals, is to help people, empower people through technology. So there's a huge gap between people and technology. There's a huge gap between technical people and non-technical people. And I've seen many entrepreneurs, for example, with amazing ideas. And when you're an entrepreneur, you have limited budget, right? And I have seen people just burn that money and end up with nothing in terms of like a tech product because they didn't understand or didn't get the right advice. So I want to be able to be that bridge so then I can help the people that are already helping the world and or that at least are making some changes in their lives to become a better person and help the people around them. And I think with technology, it's very powerful and it can impact people all over the world. And especially now with all the latest changes in AI, there's like all this rush of like AI, ChatGPT, and all these things. But it's scary, and it's scary even for me that is a technical person, and um, we just need to continue learning, catching up, and part of my mission is to help people understand technology and empower them. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So cool. Well, in wrapping up, I always ask 3 final questions and then anything that we didn't touch on that you think our listeners would really, find some value from. So first final question is if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence that you would say that could help them find it?
I'll say go travel and meet new people and meet new places.
Travel, meet new people, meet new places. I'm sure you have more than one, but what's a favorite quote and why?
I think I've said it before. It's speak it into existence because I've seen, as I told you before, that when I was a little girl, I was saying that I wanted to travel the world and all those sort of things. And a couple of years ago, I realized that all those things happen. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep speaking it into existence to see if the new things will happen.
I love it. That's so true. And what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Smile. She always smile and smile. I don't know if it will be creepy if people read smile
Wow.
in the
Just like, that'd be cool. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say you run into someone at a coffee shop and they're like, man, that was awesome. Just like believing in yourself and making things happen and all of that kind of stuff. What's something that we didn't touch on that you just think would really help people, take that step forward into, starting a business or, moving to another country or doing something, that might seem a little bit scary? What's something that we didn't touch on that you think could help them?
Mm-hmm. One lesson that I've learned that has helped me a lot is that you don't need permission to lead. So I was stuck for many years waiting for people to realize my value, to see that I was doing all the right things, that I was going above and beyond. And depending on where you are, some people will notice it and then you will continue moving if you're in a company, for example. But in many places, it's up to you. So you don't need to wait for people to tell you you can do this and that. So you can lead the people around you. You're always leading people around you. So don't wait for that permission and go and do it. And every little action counts. So the compound effect compound effect based. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it in English, but compounding and every day keep try something new, and slowly you'll see the changes in the difference.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for being on. Guys, make sure to rate, review. We'll have her information if you have some questions or anything. I know she's super helpful. to reach out. So, reach out. We'll have our stuff in the show notes, all that good stuff. Let's go out there. Let's change the world one starfish or one person at a time. We can change one starfish or one person at a time together. We can change the world. Thanks so much for being on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.